there, fashion designers, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, you're welcome, and if you're a returning subscriber or viewer, thank you so much for tuning in again. So in today's video, I'll be showing you how to make an overbust corset for a plus size. I have made a video on overbust corset on this channel, and I had questions on the right measurement for drafting a plus size overbust corset. So in this video, I'll be sharing with you in details how to draft it the easy way possible, even for a beginner. So let's dive in. First, I'm going to go ahead to draft my starting line. Then next, I'm going to mark my shoulder to nipple measurement, which is 11.25 inch, shoulder to underbust 14.75 inch, shoulder to the waist 18.25 inch. Then next, I'm going to mark the corset line, which is 4 inches away from the waistline. Then I'll mark 6 inches for my blouse length. So next, I'll just go ahead to draw out the lines, and then I'm going to label them. Next, I'll mark my shoulder, which is 8 inches, and then I'm going to mark the neckline with 3.5 inches. Then I'm going to go down by 0.75 inch to mark our shoulder slope. Then I'll just connect it together with a straight rule, just like this. Next, for my neckline depth, I'm going to go down by 3.5 inch, and then I'll get my curve rule to make a round neckline, just like this. And then next, I'm going to go down by 8 inch for our chest line. You can get your chest line by dividing your bust into 6 plus 1.5 inch. So I have marked 8 inch here, and I'm going to mark 8 inch again for the shoulder line so as to get a straight line. Next, I'm going to divide what I have here by 2, and then I'm going to take out 1/2 inch just like this to create our armhole curve. Next, I'm going to take my bust measurement, which is 10.5 inch. That's my bust divided by 4. I'm going to mark that just here, and then I'll connect it together to complete our armhole curve. Next, on my nipple point, I'm going to mark 4 inches, which is my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. I'm going to take that measurement down to the blouse length just like this. Then I'll connect it with a straight line. So next, for my dart, I'm going to mark 1 inch on both sides of the line just like this. You can choose to make use of 1.5 inch since we are working with a plus size. It's still going to come out fine. So I'll just connect it together to my nipple point just like this using the curve rule. Next, on the blouse length, I'm going to mark 2 inch. Most of the time, I like to have a slanted dart for my overbust corset. So at that point, I'm going to connect it to the underbust line just like this with a straight line. Now connect the other line to the previous, dart line that we had just like this. For better output, it's better to have a curved dart just like this. It should not be perfectly straight. So you can just go out by 0.25 inch at your waist area to just form a little bit of curve just like this. So after that is done, on my shoulder area here, I'm going to divide what I have by 2, and then I'm going to connect it down to the nipple point area just like this. After that, I'm going to go ahead to mark 7 inches at this point so as to have our overbust line. So I'll just go ahead to label it overbust line. Now at this point here, I'm going to divide 1.5 inch across the 2 sides just to have my overbust dart. So I'll go ahead to connect it like this way, and I'll also go ahead to extend it out this way. Now this overbust line is where we are going to have our neckline. It's going to be the guideline for our neckline for the overbust corset. So it's very important that we extend it because we are trying to achieve a scoop neckline for our overbust. Now I'll go ahead to measure what I have for the dart and add it at this other line here for the dart allowance which we have taken out. So I'll do the same thing also at this armhole area here, so as we are going to have a new armhole curve. This is very important so as not to shorten the chest line area. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead to clean out the previous armhole curve, and then I'm going to extend it up just like this. Normally I could take the darts at the shoulder area, but because this is an overbust corset, I don't think there's really need for that, so I'll just extend it just like this. So the waist measurement I'm working with is 37 inch. I'll be snatching by 2 inches in total, making 35 inch. So I'm going to divide that by 4, and that's going to be 7.75 inch plus 2 inch for the dart allowance and another 1 inch for dart allowance, which I'm going to be taking. So that is what we have here. Next, I'm just going to connect it together with my marker just like this. And on the blouse length, I've gone ahead to mark my hip measurement, which is 48 inches. So I'll just go ahead to connect all the points together just like this. Next, I'll go down by 1.5 inch and I'm going to connect it down to the nipple point just like this. And then I'll just make all these strokes to signify our dart area. So next, I'm going to go ahead to cut it out from the shoulder line down to the nipple point just like this. And then next, I'm going to go down by 1/2 inch on the overbust side here, and on the arm area I'll go up by 1.5 inch. This is to make our scoop neckline. Next, I'm going to go ahead to cut out the sides so as to draw out our neckline, and then I'm going to open up the darts at the side so that I can close the darts at the upper area and then draw out our neckline. So after that is done, on the chest area here, I'm going to go down by 0.25 inch. Okay, I'm going to place my curved rule just like this for the neckline, and then the armhole area, I'm going to form it around this area just like this. Now this is what I'm trying to make, and then this is how the armhole area is going to be. I wanted to cover the cleavages, that is why I made it, my overbust line to be around 7 inch. Okay, and then it's going to form this our neckline just like this. So that is it for that. So as to have a perfect neckline, is better that you close it up and then you draw your neckline. So next, to continue with my dart, I'm going to close the side dart just like this, and then I'm going to measure what I have on the waist area. I'll divide it into 2, and here is it. Then I'm going to make a straight line. Just put your ruler just like this on it and just make a straight line. Okay, you can make it a little bit slant. Like I said, when it's a little bit slant, it's going to make your it's going to come out very well. And then I'm going to just go ahead next to mark 1/2 inch on both areas just like this, and then I'm going to connect it down to the nipple, to the blouse length just like this, and also on the upper area. So that's it for the second dart of this corset. Next, I'll just go ahead to cut it out just like this. So I'll go ahead, this is what the dart is like. I'm going to go ahead right now to label it so as to understand each part before cutting it out completely. But before I do that, I'm going to make my M curve, and for the M curve, I'm just making this a little bit ceramic line. So I went up by 1/2 inch on the corset line, and then I bring it down to the blouse length just like this. So I'll just connect it this way, and this is what we have for the M line. Then I can now go ahead to cut it out just like this. So this is what we have for the front panel. I'll go ahead to draft the back panel. Now I've gotten another paper and I've drawn the starting line. Next, I'm going to mark my nipple point, which is my shoulder to nipple, which is 11.25 inch. And then for my waistline, for the back waistline, is 13.75 inch. Okay, it's different from that which we have at the back. Then next, just like what I did at the front, I'm going to mark 6 inches away from the waistline just like this to have our blouse length. So next, I'll just go ahead to draw straight lines just like this, and then I'll go ahead to label it. Next, I'm going to mark my shoulder 8 inch and then 3.5 inch for the neckline depth, even though we are not making use of it. So I'll just it's just going to be a guide for us. Go down by 0.75 inch for our shoulder slope. Then next I'm going to mark our chest line, which is 8 inch, and then I'll mark the shoulder weight again, which is 8 inch, to have the straight line. So on this line, I'm going to divide what I have here by 2, and then I'm going to take my bust measurement, which is 10.75 inches, and then I'll connect it down to the points just like this to form our armhole curve. Next, I'm going to take my waist measurement on the half length. So like I said, the waist is 37 inches, but I'm snatching 35 inch, so I'll divide that by 4, and then I'm going to go ahead to mark that. I'll now add 2 inch for our dart. So I'm taking 2 darts, that's 1 inch on each dart. Okay, so I'm going to add that dart allowance. I'm going to add that dart allowance to it, and this is what we have. Next, I'm going to take my hip measurement. Now for the hip, there's no any dart allowance, so I'm going to take the actual hip measurement, which is 48 inch. So I'll just go ahead to use my rule to connect the points together just like this. So I'm going to go ahead to extend my chest line area because we'll not be needing the upper area, okay, for the back. And then I'll go down by ½ inch on this area just to form a little bit of curve for our back corset, or for the back panel. A little bit of curve for the back panel. So I'll just connect it together with my rule just like this. On the upper area here, I'm going to mark 1½ inch, and then I'll mark 1 inch for the hemline for our eyelet allowance. So this is where our eyelet is going to be. I'm going to divide what I have left here by 3 so as to create our dart. So I'm going to have about 3.25 inch on both sides just like this. So I'm going to create the straight line just like this. It's going to be the guide for our dart. So I'm going to take ½ inch on both area, that's the half length area, okay? So ½ inch on both area, making 1 inch in total, and that's going to be 2 inch in total, which we have taken for the dart allowance when we are taking the waist measurement. So I'm just rechecking it again to see that everything is perfect, to see that my measurement is perfect, and I realized that I need to take out ¼ inch from the waist area. So it's good that you cross-check your work in case you make any mistake while calculating. So that's it for that. Next, on the corset line here, I'm going to go up by ½ inch like I did on the front panel, and then I'm going to connect it together down to the hemline just like this. So after that is done, I'm going to go ahead to label my patterns so as I'm going to identify them while I'm sewing. So this is what we have. In my next video, I'm going to be posting the sewing parts, and if you have any question, let me know in the comment section. I'll do well to ask. And if you would like to join our WhatsApp community where we are fashion designers, where we share ideas and ask questions, I will also leave the link on the description. So for the sewing part, I will leave the link on the comment section. You can do well to check it if you are watching it days after I have posted this video. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.